Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you live. I'm Gloria Coppola, the founder of Powerful Potential and Purpose Publishing Services. And today I am here to introduce you to one of our courageous 14 authors in the book that we'll be releasing later this month, Women Standing Strong Together, a collaborative book of short stories. So today I have with me Lauren Raguzin, who is a an amazing woman. She's very inspirational. She's extremely motivational. And she's been writing since she's 10 years old. And she had a dream to one day be in a book. And her dream is about to come true. She started her career as a secretary in a large advertising agency. And that's been a good thing because she's got a lot of insights on how to promote her book, her story out there, and has lined up tons of different book signings and speaking engagements and all sorts of things. I'm very proud of her. She has an entrepreneurial mindset, but she has spent most of her time in corporate companies. So I want to bring Laura on and have you meet her. She wrote a short story called The Day God Came to My Pity Party. So let's bring her on and find out why she wrote her story and a little bit of what it's about. Hey, Lauren, how are you?
Hi, Gloria. So excited to be here. Thank you so much.
I know you have been one of the most excited writers I have ever had in the last 5 years, and I love it because when writers are excited, it gets me excited and motivated too. So, thank you for your enthusiasm.
Absolutely.
So, I know that you've been writing since you're a little girl, just like me, actually. The two of us have that kind of journey. And your story is going to really relate to the caretakers in the world out there. But before we give them a little snippet about what that pity party is about, tell me why you decided to write a story.
Yeah, well, it's been my dream to be published ever since I was a little girl because not only did I write since I was 10, I just used to devour books. And I used to be so just amazed at how people could write like that. And so the story that I wrote, my primary reason for writing the story was a very healing journey, which I'll get into later. But I'm just someone who just likes to help people. I'm the helper. It's how I've spent my whole life. Um, but the main thing is, I just really feel that the story is going to help people because
Okay.
sometimes people just, you need to know that other people are going through the same thing that you are. And that alone just brings you comfort.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to help people. And I'm going to read one line out of the beginning of your story. It was day 372, another day of darkness and no light, but it wasn't physically dark. The bright sun glistened through my bedroom window, and Christmas was 2 weeks away, my favorite time of the year. You would think Grinch lived with me. Not one decoration adorned any room in my house, no tree or nativity scene. I love the way you began your story. And it got me intrigued when we were working on this together that was your approach because in story writing, which you have learned, you have
Mhm.
to capture attention. And now I wanted to know more. So based on that opening, who are you trying to reach?
I think it's interesting because I think my story can reach just anyone who's been in the situation that I was. I think women of any age could relate to it. It doesn't matter if you're, a 20-year-old, 30-year-old, advanced in your career. I really feel that it can help men too, um, because, that opening, and it's funny you say that because I do write for a living. And as a writer, the thing I spend the most time on is my opening and closing. So I really gave it a lot of thought. How am I going to get people engaged to want to read more? But I really do feel that when people read the story, they're going to
Well,
say,
it sounds
that's
like in
me.
your opening too, Lauren, like you're down in the dumps, you're depressed, you've given up hope, and that can relate to a lot of people out there.
Yeah. And, so I'm not going to give away the story. I mean, what happens to me? it's just beyond miraculous. Because, the thing about when you're depressed or you can't snap out of it, everyone can tell you to snap out of it, but it has to come from within, or sometimes it comes from another source. So, what really happened to me, it changed my life literally.
So I am going to give them one little snippet of what this is about without us going into your whole story because we're teasing you guys out there, aren't we? So I don't know about any of you watching, but if you can relate to this, then I want you to say yes. Do you ever feel like you have to do everything yourself and nobody is there for you? Anybody? Because I know I have felt that way as a single mom, as an entrepreneur. And Lauren, I have a feeling that's where you're going with this story, right?
Yeah, there's many themes in the story. I mean, there's themes of, asking for help. And I wouldn't say this is for all women, but I think as women, we don't ask for help because we feel that it's a sign of weakness, where, in a male dominated world, they always ask for help. So I think people can relate to that. But what I really realized as I was writing the story was like true self-awareness about myself and
Yeah.
things that, frankly, I knew in the back of my head I was like this, but once you write it down on paper, I was like, wow. And that really has been the best part of being part of this process. Is I've had great clarity about myself. I've learned things that I do, and
Well,
I'm
let's
trying.
talk a little bit about that, okay? Because
Yeah.
I know, with working with authors, they get excited to write like you did. We all have this story we want to share, but every single writer I have ever worked with goes through some sort of healing process. And I think that's what you were about to get into. So tell the audience out there, what was your healing process like in writing this story?
So, this happened several years ago, and I I would say when I was writing the first draft, quite frankly, I was just sobbing as I was writing it. And the reason for that, it's not that I haven't healed, because I have in a miraculous way, but I was reliving the pain that I felt. And so it wasn't tears of sadness, really. It was tears of, wow, I can't believe I made it through that experience. And now look at me. And it really did change my life, and people will understand when they read the story, and people in my life will understand and realize how much it impacted my life.
And I find that is a common denominator as well with the writers, that they can relate very much, I'm sure, to what you just said, that they look back and go, wow,
Mhm.
I'm really cool. I got through this. I'm like helping others now. I'm inspiring others. And that's a good feeling, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And what I'd also say, why I think people are gonna relate to this, um, any type of, struggle that you go through your life, whether it's depression or lack of motivation, or you're just not inspired and nothing excites you. The other part to it is when you go through that, it also is a self-worth issue. You start doubting yourself. You start doubting everything about yourself. And that was really the cathartic thing that I went through when I went through this experience. And that's why it was so miraculous what happened to me, and how it just changed me forever.
That is wonderful. I'm going to put the name of the book down here. She's about ready to put the book that I published. It's the wrong one.
Mhm.
So this is actually the second version of Women Standing Strong Together, Volume 2. So for those of you that don't know, about 5 years ago, I was guided to gather 12 women and produce the book Women Standing Strong Together, which went number one bestseller on day one. And there's no doubt that all of you are going to buy this, and the same thing will happen for these ladies. And then I got the calling again, Lauren, to do volume two. Only this one looks a little different. So I'm going to show you guys because you may want to go and read the first one and the second one. And is this the one? No, that's not the one. You can see the differences because we all evolve, right? So everything looks different. We are all evolving. I am as well. But we are also going to have the artists come on our summit, Lauren, and get to meet her. And, I fell in love with all her paintings because most of them are women, and it was so appropriate to be able to license and use this artwork for our cover. Do you love it?
The artwork is just gorgeous, gorgeous.
Gorgeous. So it's gonna be a wonderful experience to listen to her too. Like, why does she paint women all the time? And they're so
Mhm.
beautiful. And I feel honored to have had that. Now, you had mentioned something a while back, and I know we talked a little bit about it today, that you actually got inspired by a childhood friend who is in one of my other collaborative books,
Yes,
and it helped you heal on some level. So I know when people read your story and other stories, that could happen to them too, don't you think?
absolutely, absolutely. And and it was in 2021. It was a book. Nicole, who was interviewed about 2 weeks ago. Nicole and I have been best friends in 6 years. And she actually inspired me to get involved. And then I met you, and as soon as I met you, Gloria, like your energy was just amazing. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to do this, but after I talked to you, I'm like, yes, I am going to do this. But Nicole's story, it really healed me because at the time, my mother-in-law, who's like a second mother to me, um, she was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and Nicole had told me she was going to be a first time author. I immediately ordered the book. I never opened it. And I opened it on the day of her funeral because we didn't go because of COVID. And it was before I was praying. And something told me to open the book. And her story, it healed me in a way that I felt peace. I was very sad about losing my mother in law. But after I read her story, I don't know. It was like this peace just overcame me. Yeah.
And this is the award winning number one bestseller book that Nicole's first story was in. And she gets to join her best friend since childhood in Women Standing Strong with a brand new story
Yeah.
that actually has helped her heal in her life. It's so cool. And I love the fact that you are collaborating. You live in completely two different states, and you're collaborating with her to do what?
Yeah. So it's very exciting. I haven't told anyone the date yet, but I'm doing a book signing in North Carolina, which is where I live. And Nicole and her husband are coming. And Nicole still lives in my hometown. And we're doing a second book signing in Dumont, New Jersey. And we're still finalizing those details. And I'm going to New York to do that with her. And I have to say, I'm very excited about North Carolina, but I'm so excited to go back to my hometown where I haven't been in probably 10 years, and to have this experience, and really having this experience with Nicole is it's just priceless for me.
Now that's really collaboration because this is a collaborative book with 14 brave souls out there. And these wonderful ladies and lifetime friends since childhood are collaborating to even launch their books together. I love that idea. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think I
And
might have to kind of sneak in on your book signing in North Carolina to meet both of you. You need to tell me the date.
well, and I'll have to tell you, prior to in my earlier part of my career, I did PR for a living. So I've done events my entire life.
Oh,
So
it shows with everything you're doing, that's for sure.
And if I could do my life over, maybe I would have been a party planner because I just love planning events. And there are so many details that I'm doing for the North Carolina book signing. And it's just really exciting, um, to be able to do that. And I'm actually donating the sales of the books to a nonprofit.
Well, that is wonderful. Which
Yes.
nonprofit?
So it's called NAMI. It's national, but I live in Johnston County, so it stands for National Association of Mental Illness. And my story is really dedicated to my friend Lisa. who I lost in 2021. Yeah.
Aw, that's beautiful. We have a couple of authors in some of our collaborative books that have done that
Yeah.
go big or go home, right? And they
Yeah.
donate their books or their monies they make off of it or whatever to different nonprofits. And one of the gals in one of the other collaboratives, she was in recovery from several different things, and became a wonderful administrator in a Fortune 500 company who had her now helping others, and
Yeah.
she's still dedicated, to help the nonprofits out there. So they now they get her on stage speaking everywhere. So you may be speaking at this too someday. You never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well, I just love giving back. I mean, it's just part of my DNA. But, once I knew this was going to happen and I was going to be a published author, I really am like so excited, like a little kid in a candy store. And I've done so many things in my life that, I've been proud of. But I feel that this is the proudest because I may never know how my story impacted someone, but it could impact a stranger. And
Around the world because we're international.
yeah, and that's what's amazing about all of the authors is I think, well, I haven't read all the stories, but I've gotten to know these women. I feel that, we're just all united in love, you
Well,
know.
just wait till you read the stories because there's only one person who's read some of the stories. She actually helps me with some of the social media graphic design. So I had to give her the manuscript so she can make some of those things that we provide for you ladies to promote yourself. But we have 14 women from 5 different countries. And that's a first that we have 5 different
That's
countries.
amazing.
What you don't know is that although they have never met, they have not read each other's story. There is a common theme that runs through the entire book, even though everybody's story is completely different. And Lauren, I love when that happens because I get to see too that the alignment,
Right.
when you bring people together to collaborate, collaborate, I'm having a hard time with certain words today, collaborate, that energy, from God, from the universe, actually brought all of you literally to stand strong together. And
Hmm.
I'm excited to see you all read the stories and then, share with each other like, wow, how could that like Linda says, amazing how that worked. How could that be, right? Well, that's how it works in my world. We align and attract all the right people in our lives.
Right. Right. Well, and that's really, how you started the collaborative book. And, I'm a true believer, Gloria, and you know this from our conversations. Um, there's always a master plan for our life. And sometimes we can't see it when we're going through hardship, but everything in my life that's happened, it's happened for a reason. And I was meant to be in this book. And I really hope that it does help people.
And I absolutely think it will. And so stay tuned for our Authors Summit coming up February 18th. There is a link that you must register for if you're a guest, all right? And you will get to meet 10 of our authors. Some of them couldn't make it for the summit. And 3 special guests are coming on. One, the artist, and we're going to find out why she paints so many women. And then we are going to bring in 2 former authors that were in the very first Women Standing Strong Together. Okay.
Oh, no.
So they agreed to come and support you gals. So we got Marianne and we got Deborah. They were in the first one, and now you guys are in the second one. How fun is that, right?
No,
And so
that's
you'll get a little tidbit on not only why they were in this, but Deborah went on to write her novel after this.
wow.
And that tends to happen when people dip their toes, Lauren, into a short story. I know Tika's already talking about it. I have a novel inside of me. I gotta write it. And Irene, who's coming up at 7 p.m., you'll get to meet Irene. Irene started writing her novel and then she realized what a challenge it is. And I said, let's pull the reins back a little and let's
Yeah.
do a short story. And I have to tell you, I've worked with her for 2 years and her developmental skills are improving. And people don't realize, like, we get excited, we think our writing's great, but there's so much more, isn't there, that we can learn. And I know you even write in your book that you in your bio that you love to learn and you're open to do new
Yeah.
things, and you did that too, even in this process, because I remember you telling me, I'm a writer, I'm an editor, and then we went over some things and you were really gracious about the uh the changes that had to be made. So that's
Yeah.
really good that the people that get involved in this are open to doing the best they can.
And you know what I'd say about that? It's really because of what I do for a living. Many, many years ago, when people changed my writing, I took offense to it. But as I progressed in my career, I only want things to be the best that they can be. So
Yeah.
going through this process and all of your guidance, when I submitted the first draft, I knew it needed major work, but you
Oh,
just
it
said
does.
right. And that's what I did. And what you really helped me do, which I've never done in my life, is write about my feelings. And it's very
Mhm.
hard to write about your feelings and to get someone to feel what you're feeling. And that was the part that I love so much about this, because this is a very different type of writing than I'm used to.
Yeah. And I remember too, I used to write for magazines a lot. I was more of a journalist, and then I would do interviews, believe it or not. Look, now I do it on videos, right? I used to do interviews and have to write interviews of, authors, healers, all this.
Right.
And I remember they hired me one time to do this full article instead, like a spread. And the
Hmm.
editor came back with all these marks, like in Catholic school, and it triggered me. And I thought, oh my God,
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, it was tough. It was tough versus just writing like an essay on something.
Yeah.
And, you almost want to give up when people are like doing this, right? And then you're like, no, I
Right.
have to learn. I have to learn. And so
Right.
35 years later, I'm still learning,
Yeah.
because even when I did a fiction book, which is not my forte, I learned a lot in that, Lauren. So you may do a fiction book someday and realize that's another type of writing. And
Right.
then recently, I worked with a developmental coach, which is what I am, to look at my sequel and gave her the first chapter after after I revised it at least 12 times, right? And
Right.
and it was really cool because I saw the growth in my own writing, just like you did and many others have. And but she still saw things from the other side of the room that we don't see when we're looking at it from this
Right.
dimension. And
Right.
that's why it's so important to have people look at our work and be open, like you were, like I was, to
Yeah.
receive that feedback and make the stories even better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough, and I'm just so excited for when we can tell everyone when they can buy the book.
Yeah, yeah. So on the summit, which is February 18th, we will announce the launch date, the official launch date. But come to the summit. And Tika, would you put that link down here? I see you out there.
Mhm.
So that they can go register, because there's going to be some giveaways. There will be prizes. And not only am I giving some things away, but a lot of the authors are going to give away an autographed copy of their story. So you could be a lucky winner, but you're going to have to come on live February 18th at noon. And we are going to just do little snippets from all 14 authors. Well, not 14, 10 of them will be there, and the three special guests. And Savvy Chef Lynn, she's in the story too. Savvy, oh, her name is Linda, but I call her Savvy because she is savvy. She opens the book, ladies out there that are in this. She opens the book with a very interesting story. And I'm not going to give it away because she will be interviewed as well. But it's a fun story, but it's sweet and sour.
Mm.
And here, so if you look at the comments down below, go click on that. And then you can register for the summit, and we will all get to hang out with you, right, for the afternoon.
Absolutely.
Well, Lauren, I wish you a lot of luck. You have a lot of things on your plate to promote this book. I know you, right before I interviewed you, you talked about getting NBC involved, all these different people, newspapers. You got it going. So I know that you are going to be one of the many women that bring this book to a number one bestseller.
Well, I think we can all do it together, and it's all about
Oh, you
teamwork.
have to. You
Yeah,
have to do it together. That's why collaborations work the best. So I want to
absolutely.
thank you for coming on. And your buddy from 6 years old says, great interview,
Ah, thank
Lauren.
you. Oh,
And you have several of your colleagues here cheering you on. And Here's Miss Savvy from the UK. She's one of
Mhm.
our international. Tika's from Mexico. We have Paulina from Italy. We have Rodine, who also has another a cool story about emotions. She's from Canada, and all the rest of the ladies are from the United States. So we're going to have lots of fun on February 18th. Mark your calendar. I'm going to put that down here as a reminder. So we have the Authors Summit. Do you have any last words for people listening of maybe something that I just feel like something is coming through that you need to say?
Yeah, so it's funny you asked this. So I was talking to a really good friend of mine this week, telling her about this journey, and I was really encouraging her um, to write her story. And same as me, like I was healed long before I wrote this story. But the thing about writing, and it doesn't matter what you write, but when you share your story with people, you may be healed, but your story can help heal someone else. And I encourage anyone, to just write because it's a very cathartic healing process.
Yeah, even if you just write for yourself, I have 4 decades of journals that were my therapist in the long run. And when I go back and look at it, just like you shared earlier about looking at your story and celebrating, the healing you went through and your success, that's how I feel when I read my journals. I'm like, oh my God, 40 years ago, boy, did I have stuff going on. 30, yes, still kind of some patterns. 20, we're getting a little better. 10, we're actually transforming. So it is a lifelong process, and we're all in it together. So, Lauren, thanks again. Thank you,
Thank you
everybody
so much,
who's been
Gloria.
watching, and we will see you soon. Help us make this book a #1 bestseller. Thank you.
I'll do my best. Bye bye.